Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's ceremony. My name is Melissa Toon, and I am the Chief of Public Affairs for the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. Welcome. Today, we're all here to present the Atomic Veterans Commemorative Service Medal to these distinguished veterans. We are thankful and grateful for your service and appreciate those of you who are able to be with us today and those who are here in spirit. Today's event is being recorded and will be available online for viewing in approximately 24 hours from now at www.dishra.mil. Please make sure to share this information with anyone who is not here today. We will also link today's ceremonies to all of our social media sites. Please share that information as well. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party, the honors to our guest speaker, and the playing of our national anthem, and the invocation by Chaplain Thomas Brooks.
Present on. Cuff, right shoulder, on. Cuff, collar stern, mark.
Chaplain Brooks will now render the invocation.
Let's pray. Lord, we are grateful for another day to live and to serve, and for the privilege we have now to honor those who faithfully serve their nation before us. We thank you for Atomic Veterans who helped the cleanup of radioactive material and the operation of unthinkably powerful weapons in a time of great power competition, helping us as a nation to prevent catastrophe through their efforts to ensure readiness and strength, giving pause to our enemies. We're thankful for their dedication to duty and selfless service, doing what was needed to be done at risk of harm to themselves for the greater good. May your abundant goodness and loving grace pursue them and heap overwhelming blessings upon them all the days of their lives. Amen.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, we would like to welcome today our guest speaker, Congressman Jim McGovern, who represents the 2nd District of Massachusetts in the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressman McGovern and his office has worked tirelessly in support of the atomic veterans and is the ranking member of the House Rules Committee, chair of the Congressional Executive Commission on China, and is the co-chair of the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission. Congressman McGovern, welcome. Also with us today is Dr. Brandy Vann. Dr. Vann currently serves as the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Nuclear, Chemical, and Biological Defense Programs. In this position, Dr. Vann is the Principal Advisor to the Assistant Secretary of Defense on nuclear energy, nuclear weapons, chemical demilitarization, chemical and biological defense, and treaty management. Prior to her work in DoD, Dr. Vann served as the Director of Laboratories for Nephron Pharmaceuticals Corporation and as a visiting scientist at the Counterterrorism and Forensic Science Research Unit at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Dr. Vann, thank you for joining us today. Today is an extraordinary day for us here at the Defense Threat Reduction Agency as we honor the nation's atomic veterans with this prestigious medal. We have looked forward to today's event and proud to be a part of this occasion. Before we move forward with the awards presentation, I would like to share with you just a brief history of this important award. The Atomic Veterans Commemorative Service Medal recognizes that the service and sacrifice of atomic veterans directly contributed to our freedom and the prosperity after World War II, and was key to our nation's defense during the Cold War. Veterans eligible for this medal are those who performed official military duties during the period of July 1st, 1945 to October 1st, 1992. The Defense Threat Reduction Agency was selected to manage the program due to its existing expertise of determining radiation exposure through the Nuclear Test Personnel Review Program. DTRA's Nuclear Test Personnel Review has maintained a database of participants and radiation dose reconstructions since 1978. On July 5th, 2022, the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, established the Atomic Veterans Commemorative Service Medal and the Atomic Veterans Service Certificate to honor the service and sacrifices of veterans instrumental in the development of our nation's atomic and nuclear weapons programs. The director of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency manages the Atomic Veterans Program and began issuing medals on December 6, 2022. Our nation's longstanding nuclear deterrence capability resulted from the service and sacrifice of these atomic veterans who participated in the initial testing and development of the weapons programs, especially the dangerous and important work often done in secret due to national security requirements. For several years, DTRA and the Department of Defense have partnered with veteran and military service organizations to honor the service of the atomic veterans. It is the culmination of that collaboration that brings us all here today. The Defense Threat Reduction Agency is deeply grateful for the service, sacrifice, and commitment to the nation of these veterans and their expertise that has left a lasting mark in the advances of atomic and nuclear weapons technology. We're humbled and honored to have you here today and to have the opportunity to celebrate you and to simply say thank you. Now at this time, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please direct your attention to the screen, we're now going to hear from some of the veterans in their own words.
For many years, military service members that participated in the initial testing and development of our nation's atomic and nuclear weapons programs worked in secrecy and went largely unrecognized. While it's not clear just how many veterans took part in such operations due to the classified nature of their work, records indicate it could be more than 500,000. Those atomic veterans still with us today are finally getting the recognition they deserve. In 2022, the Secretary of Defense established the Atomic Veterans Commemorative Service Medal to honor their dangerous and important work.
See, when I was a kid, I remember when they dropped the nuclear weapons on Japan in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I was only 9 years old, but I heard the people talking about how much damage it had done to the country. And when one of those things went off that we were testing was so much larger, so it's amazing, and the feeling you get if something like that was to come in on a populated area, it would be devastating. So that you realize how serious this was at the time.
My position during these blasts was on the con, which was the top of the ship. And as a result, obviously, I saw most of the blasts that occurred. And most of these blasts occurred about midnight. And this one blast that I happened to see, after the bomb was dropped from the B-29, all of a sudden, from a pitch black night, the sky was brightly lit up, startlingly so, from horizon to horizon, just a clear blue, like a noonday. Unbelievable. It was eerie because we didn't hear any noise, and just looked about, just wondering what this was all about. I mean, it was something that we had never experienced before.
But it just got to be just totally routine. It was no thing. The only time that it was not routine, it was when they did their first big underwater blast, right? And that was really, really interesting. Just imagine this now. It just like a big boom, and it just sounded like a hammer hitting the side of the ship. Didn't last very long, right? And the telephone rang, checked for damage. So I had to walk all around through there. And then that was over, and then the whole ship was locked down. All the doors were closed and portholes closed and so forth. And, well, what did you see? What? You talking to me?
At the time, I was a first lieutenant and assigned to Fort Benning, Georgia. And somewhere around the early summer, I received word that I was going to be moved to Fort Mercury, or Camp Mercury, north of Vegas. And I was to go there to witness some atomic bombs. This is in 1957. And when I got to the site, I was in a trench. And we were probably a mile from where the detonation took place.
They tell you when the bomb would be released, and then the countdown to the detonation, and tell everybody to put on their goggles and be in an area where you could be. So you put on your goggles and they count down and the tests go off and you hear a blast and the light, your glasses light up brighter than any day you've ever seen.
I look at the rest of my Navy career, there are a lot of different things that occurred, but this, I think, from a national security standpoint, was the most impactful. We went there on a mission to make an impact to our enemy at the time, the Soviet Union, and the mission was accomplished. As a result of those blasts, they went back to their country, and let me put it this way, the Soviets stopped being the aggressor and trying to advance to to our shores.
I mean that I served my country to the best that I could, and hope that being an atomic veteran is something that we never need again.
Today, we are here to honor all our brave atomic war veterans.
To the veterans who participated in the video, we would like to say thank you so much for sharing your personal experience. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please allow me to introduce at this time the Director of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, Ms. Rebecca Hersman.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman McGovern, Dr. Van, all of our important attendees, all of you who came to share the day, and of course, most importantly, our atomic veterans and their families. I am honored and humbled to be standing here with you today. The sacrifices you made in service to your country have kept us safe for 78 years. Indeed, it is a little hard to follow those testimonials, right? I think you, in your own words, said it better than almost any of us could. So thank you for that, and for sharing something that we can share with others going forward in the years to come. So today we recognize the commitment and sacrifices made by you and those you represent, our unsung heroes of our nation's atomic and nuclear weapons programs. These brave veterans served their country selflessly, often directly in harm's way, and the atomic veterans were pivotal to our nation's defense during the Cold War, ensuring safe, secure, and reliable nuclear deterrence capabilities. As Mr. Joseph Morency expressed in the video, the mission was accomplished and the Soviets stopped aggressing towards our shores. Now, you know, it's fitting that this commemoration occurs this week, 22 years since that tragic day when 4 aircraft left their mark on the World Trade Center, Shanksville, and the Pentagon, and our nation changed forever. Now, I don't know about you, but when I reflect on that day, on 9/11, it's often the memories of what we experienced as people who lived it. It's the quiet, unsung, often unknown heroes who risked, and in many cases lost their lives in the moment or in the years that followed, because they were there helping their fellow citizens. On that day, they were firefighters, medical workers, police officers, and everyday Americans helping each other, quiet heroes. And it is similar, quiet heroes, we celebrate today. For years, the efforts of our atomic veterans were shrouded in secrecy due to national security requirements, and yet their efforts provided the very foundation of U.S. national defense and security for more than 7 decades. And it is right that they should be honorably recognized. Let me say, as the director of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, these remarkable contributions have also had a profound and lasting influence on this agency, as DTRA proudly traces its roots to the Manhattan Project. Many of the service members who participated in the initial testing and the development of our nuclear weapons programs served in DTRA's predecessor organizations. We, as an agency, are committed to recognizing the atomic veterans who gave so much for our country, and we must ensure they receive the care and the recognition they deserve. Even more, DTRA has a role in actually preserving the information and the data that came from those very tests that you either supported or observed or engaged in some other manner. We are actually the entity in the U.S. government that's charged with the digitizing of that information, for creating the permanent databases, and making sure that that essential technical information is available to all of our scientists and experts now and for years to come, in hopes that testing is never again required to fill those scientific needs. Now, you know, many of us have heard John McCrae's iconic poem, In Flanders Field. And we know why. We so often, when we're honoring veterans, we wear poppies to remember the sacrifice for those who have served. However, there is a poem that fewer know that was written 3 years later after in Flanders Field. It was written by a woman named Moina Michael, and it was called "We Shall Keep the Faith." We caught the torch you threw, and holding high, we keep the faith. And while I agree with Mr. Clifton Proctor's hope, possibly indeed something of a prayer, that an atomic veteran is something we never need again, many of us have that responsibility to hold the torch, to represent your service, and to make sure that the information and everything that we learned through that process is put to good and proper use in the future. So let me assure you that DTRA will carry that torch. We will keep the faith. We will honor those who took these risks, and we commit ourselves to serving DoD and the nation as we seek to deter, prevent, and prevail in the face of WMD threats. And while we are only honoring some in person of our atomic veterans today, this ceremony is for all of our atomic veterans. Before the ceremony began, we tried to share numbers. We've issued more than 2,000 medals to recipients of the AVCSM to date. And as the narrator stated in the video, we have watched, and we now think there could be as many of 500,000 of you. We're recording today's event, and we hope atomic veterans and their families will watch it and contact us. So in fact, if we've missed anyone out there who is deserving of this award, they will receive it. These actions cannot begin to fully express our gratitude as an agency, as a Department of Defense, and a nation. I am not sure really anything could. But we will continue to try and continue to show the appreciation that you so richly deserve. There are people who will speak far more eloquently. However, I will simply say, with all sincerity, to all of the atomic veterans here at home who live today and who passed before this could be available to them as an award, thank you, and thank you for your service. Now, there is one man here who is not actually an atomic veteran, but who has very much kept the faith and held the torch. And we are grateful that he is able to join us today for this important ceremony. Congressman Jim McGovern has passionately fought for the atomic veterans since 2014, after a meeting with his constituent, atomic veteran Joe Mondello. Unfortunately, Joe wasn't able to join us today, but I know the congressman and everyone here holds him closely in your heart. For a decade, he led a bipartisan effort that pushed for legislation to recognize America's atomic veterans. And in 2021, when President Biden asked him about his top 5 priorities, I understand this was listed right up there. With the signing of the FY22 NDAA, the AVCSM was authorized, and shortly thereafter, DoD created the program that we are honored to run on their behalf. So as we gather today to honor our atomic veterans, there is absolutely no one better to serve as today's keynote speaker than the person who spent almost 10 years talking to atomic veterans and seeking this recognition. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the podium Congressman Jim McGovern.
Well, good morning, everyone. I want to begin by thanking Director Hersman for asking me to be here. I want to also thank her for her incredible service to our country. In fact, I want to thank her and her entire team and all the amazing service members here at Fort Belvoir who have worked so hard to make this ceremony a reality. Dr. Van, we're honored to be with you as well. It is just great to be with all of you today as we pay tribute to a group of veterans who have sacrificed and given so much to our nation. A group of veterans who bravely answered the call to service and were sent into the unknown, risking their lives and their health in defense of our country. A group of veterans who for too long have been left out. And I'm honored to be with you, but I'm also proud. Proud because today, at long last, we are giving America's atomic veterans the recognition they deserve for the sacrifices they made in defense of our freedom. To those who are here today and those who will be watching from home, please know that you have our deepest gratitude and respect. All of you are heroes who displayed unwavering courage in the face of unprecedented danger, often at great personal cost to you and your families. We're also honored to be here with members, with family members of those who have passed. The service of your loved ones will never, ever be forgotten. And although I wish we could have done this sooner, today I am proud that the Atomic Veterans are receiving the highest award ever granted to a past cohort of veterans in the United States of America. And for me, as Director Hersman pointed out, this has been kind of a long journey. I'll be honest, I didn't know much about Atomic Veterans when I first got elected. I don't think many people did. But a little over 10 years ago, one of my constituents, Joe Mondello, reached out to my office to schedule a meeting with me. Joe came in and sat down, and I'll never forget this. He told me about his time as a platoon leader in the Army in the 1950s. Told me about the dangerous conditions he and fellow soldiers faced conducting nuclear tests and experiments. Told me how he served as a guide to accompany Marines into the trenches less than 3 miles from ground zero during the test of a 74 kiloton blast on July 5th, 1957 in Nevada. I sat and I listened to his story, and I got angry because what I heard from Joe was that Atomic Veterans were sworn to secrecy. And even though that secrecy oath was rescinded in 1996, many of them were still not getting the care that they needed. I heard that for years the Atomic Veterans were not being given the recognition that they deserve for their service to our country. They had to fight an uphill battle just to secure recognition from the very government they had put their lives on the line to defend. As a result of their secrecy oath, they often couldn't get care for serious health conditions they developed. Cancers caused by radiation often went untreated because their claims for injuries and diseases associated with their service were denied. Joe told me that many families still don't even know the truth because thousands of Atomic Veterans passed away without ever having been able to tell their stories and receive the benefits that they deserved. So I did what you do as a member of Congress. I did my homework. I studied the issue, and then I introduced a bill. And when that didn't pass, I introduced another and another. And I grew our coalition, talking to my colleagues one at a time, the old-fashioned way to get votes and build support. We ran into wall after wall of resistance, but we were persistent because we knew we were on the right side of history. And because we had an incredible group of veterans who were behind us, who were powerful advocates for this cause. And I want to recognize a few of those veterans who are constituents of mine, Joe Mondello as well as Leo Quinn and Ron Benoit for their work, and Keith Kiefer, National Commander of the National Association of Atomic Veterans, for his steadfast work in support of our mission. And I want to say to Joe and to Leo and to Rob and to Keith and to everyone here today that it's because of your quiet courage and tireless advocacy that this medal is possible. After decades of organizing and working to build support, we got this signed into law. And today we are here to say, with one voice as a nation, thank you to our Atomic Veterans. America has a sacred obligation to protect those we send into harm's way and to look after and care for them when they return home. That's what this is all about. This medal is a small token of our immense gratitude for your service and for your sacrifice. It represents not only your commitment to the defense of our nation, but our commitment to never forget what you did. To all our Atomic Veterans and their families, we say thank you. Thank you for your unwavering commitment to your mission. You are American heroes. Just like you kept your word long after your service ended, your heroism will be remembered for generations to come. And I hope that this medal and the recognition it signifies is a comfort to you and your families, and a reminder that we remember and appreciate what you did and what you had to endure. May God bless America, and may God protect our troops. Thank you very much.
Ms. Hersman, please join Representative McGovern at the center of the stage, please. At this time, we're going to move into the medal presentation portion of today's ceremony. We would like to ask our awardees to please stand and make your way to the center of the aisle to move to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us today Mr. Thomas Alizi, Mr. James Androl, Mr. Frank Bolton, Mr. Kenneth Brownell, Ms. Karen Bosk Cobb. She's accepting on behalf of her deceased husband, Michael Cobb, Mr. Clifton Crocker, Mr. Harry Daniel II, Mr. Ernest Davis, Mr. Lincoln Groffs, Mr. James Greenquist, Mr. Robert Greenwald, Mr. Harry Jager, Mr. Gilly Jenkins, Mr. Keith Kiefer, Mr. Wesley Neal, and Mr. Paul Sparacino. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our awardees a round of applause. Thank you, veterans. Please return to your seated area. After the veterans return to their seated area, we will ask everyone to stand for the playing of the Armed Forces Medley. At this time, we will allow the Atomic veterans to remain seated. At this time, the rest of us, please stand for the playing of the Armed Services Medley. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Director of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, the executive leadership, and the entire DTRA family, we'd like to thank you all for being here today. This is the ending of today's ceremony. We would ask that the other members of the audience please wait while the veterans depart the area. As the veterans depart, please depart in the exits on the side, not at the back of the entrance. Thank you so much for attending today. Thank you to our special guest for coming and speaking today, Dr. Vann and members of the OSD headquarters. This concludes today's ceremony.